What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Cash It. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Adam Ronis. And, oh, baby, like 2 weeks into the baseball season, NBA playoffs, the play-in games started, well, last night. Adam and I are recording here on Wednesday. Stanley Cup playoffs. Oh, it's all the rage right now. It's a fun time for sports, Adam. How are you, brother?
It is a fun time unless you have a fantasy baseball team and your team is just littered with injuries, because it just feels like every 5 minutes we're getting another injury. And as we start recording, Corey Seager is on the IL with a hamstring injury and will be out at least 4 weeks. So the shortstop position has just been decimated.
At least he hit my total bases prop yesterday before he pulled up lame. I was watching that one intently. And it was a double that he pulled up lame. It's a hamstring issue. And yeah. So you have several teams that are getting pounded because, listen, fuck me for saying this, but I'll knock wood.
Let's get it.
I haven't been getting hit yet. I've gotten like one or two here and there, but I haven't been I haven't gotten hit hard yet. So I'm sorry that you're going through this, Adam.
Yeah, it just sucks. And then, in some weekly leagues, you find out, oh, Zach Eflin's on the IL. Well, he's already in my lineup for the week. That's great. Brandon Woodruff, I got him. He's in the lineup for the week. That's great. So, yeah, it's been bad. I mean, my online championship team in the NFBC has just been getting hit with injuries every day. Carlos Correa, and then I was able to bench him because, that's a Monday through Thursday. But yeah, it's just been pretty bad. O'Neal Cruz, I only had in one league, but it was a 15-team league, so there really wasn't much available on the waiver wire for shortstop. But yeah, it's just Jose Siri I had in a couple leagues, Eloy Jimenez. So, it's kind of hard to avoid what's going on right now because there's just so many injuries, it feels like.
Yeah, let's see. Eloy, I definitely lost in one league. It just seemed like, and that was the thing. You and I talked about it throughout throughout draft season, as far as just believing in him. And it just never, now they're because there are times where I forget, I'm like, oh shit, I've got 30 best ball teams and I've got a dozen fantasy teams and everything like that. So, it always just kind of seemed that, Eloy was taken, or there was something else going on in my draft plan where I didn't take Eloy, but I do have him in some best ball shit and whatever. That is just, that kind of spilled off that way. But yeah, man, again, it just really hasn't bombarded me all that much. So are you just are you chewing through fab right now because of all these injuries?
In a couple leagues, yes. It depends on the leagues and what I have available on the bench. But yeah, again, in some of these deeper leagues, it's really difficult to find. The shortstop position, everyone's like, oh, it's a deep position. I thought it was more top heavy. And now you got a lot of those guys hurt. I haven't seen an update on Dansby Swanson. I know he was out of the lineup Wednesday, left with cramps. O'Neal Cruz, Seager. I know I'm missing someone else, but yeah, shortstop position is definitely taking a big hit.
I'm gonna go look for it right now. Where's my my batting? I want to see who else is really screwing everybody over in that, because there's, you look at it. Yeah. Swanson's hurt. Seager's hurt. Anderson's hurt.
Yeah, there you go. Tim Anderson. That's another one.
Yeah, he just left 5 stolen bases too. Gleyber Torres, second base, but Gleyber, hip flexor there. Back to shortstop. And I'll tell you, the funny thing is that not only, do you have these guys getting hurt, but then, Volpe hasn't done anything since the 3 stolen bases. Gunnar Henderson has been dog shit. Carlos Correa has not been good at all. Javi Baez, Ahmed Rosario. It's really, it's a deep position, but it's a deep position that's really not producing very much right now.
Yeah, and it's top heavy, and then you got some of those top guys being out. Yeah, it's rough. There's just so many injuries. There's some bad pitching performances as well with starting pitchers. So, uh, I mean, my team's overall, again, it's only a couple weeks in, but it's not like I'm buried at the bottom of the standings. But it's just I noticed with my teams, they're low in offense. The pitching has been good, and my offense has been bad, which again usually doesn't happen. But I mean, I guess because I have guys like Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray and Jesus Luzardo and Lodolo. So I guess the pitching has been pretty good for me. And I kind of avoided those top aces. Like I didn't get any Verlander, Scherzer. As much as I liked Aaron Nola, I didn't get him anywhere.
Right.
So I've been fortunate, I guess, in that area so far. But offense has been a problem. I noticed that in several leagues, I'm near the bottom in homers and RBIs.
See, yeah, that's, I mean, and that's kind of an interesting thing also when you take a look at, and again, obviously your standings are going flip-flopping all over the place now. We're still not at a point where, things are kind of sitting comfortably. But yeah, that's, it's very interesting to see that, you're competitive in stolen bases, your runs scored are probably good, but yeah, the power and the RBI, that's, like all of a sudden, I don't necessarily know if, we need it like it used to be. You remember when you ended up with like, you got yourself an Adam Dunn, and that just kind of helped you out with the power. You didn't do shit for you in batting average. You didn't do anything for you in speed, but you had him there as that guy.
And that reminds me, I had Adam Duvall in a league.
Oh, he was crushing it. There's another one.
Actually, let me see. I think in the GST I lost Duvall, Eloy, Jose Siri. And it's like, damn, man, what the hell? Like all of a sudden.
All right, so you're just fucking cursed right now.
Yeah, man.
So what'd you do? Who'd you piss off? Did you do something? Did you go to Citi Field and disrespect something or, like something sacred, some baseball tradition? Did you talk about somebody having a no-hitter when you shouldn't have? Like something's going on with your fantasy karma right now.
I think one of my ex put a curse on me, man. I really do, because shit has fallen apart since that time. So I think she had more power than I thought. But I was.
Shit. I know what you're talking like mystical shit going on right now.
But when I did go to Citi Field on Sunday, as soon as I sat down, the guy next to me goes, "Are you Adam Ronis?" I was like, "What?" I'm like, "How do you know?" He's like, "Oh, I listened to you on Sirius XM." I was like, "Oh shit!" So he was with his friend. They had season tickets. Cool guys. Started talking and everything. Big Mets fans. It's crazy. My friend was with me. He's like, "I wouldn't have believed this if I wasn't here."
That's hysterical. I love you know what? I mean, I don't consider myself a celebrity, but like when shit like that happens, you got to get all giddy about it. You got to feel good about it. You're putting out content that people are consuming.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, I don't even know if I even spoke that much that he knew the voice or how I looked, but it was crazy. I was like looking around for cameras, thinking I was on Impractical Jokers for a second.
Which we all know Sal is the best.
No, Joe.
Joe quit.
He did not quit. He was forced to leave because marriage is bad.
Wait a minute there. Listen, then get out of the marriage and just do your thing. Like you're more well loved on Impractical Jokers than you are at home. So be it. Embrace that.
He's went through a divorce.
Oh, so he should get back on the show then.
He should. I hope so.
It doesn't work without the foursome.
It doesn't really. I mean, they've had like celebrity guests come in and
garbage.
Some of them have been okay, but it's not the same. I still watch it and I'm still a fan, but it's not the same. I understand in life things change, but when you have like the four of them doing that for 9 years and then you just remove one, it's just not the same.
Yeah, definitely does not work. Definitely. Yeah. I don't really watch it as much now. I find myself still going back to like early seasons and watching those. Like I'll actually look at what season the episode's from. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember, that was a good season. I'll go back and I'll watch that. But yeah, I don't like if he's not, running around screaming Larry. I
Yeah.
mean, what fucking good is it? Larry. Oh man. Well, damn. So now we got all right. So there's something going on with your fantasy karma now. So your teams are abandoning you. The injury bug is biting a big old piece out of your ass. But yet you still have fan recognition at Citi Field. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. We're gonna have to explore this a little bit. If you guys out there, as I know that there are tons of Adam Ronis lovers out there, and I don't mean lovers in the romantic sense. I mean that you just love Adam Ronis. On Twitter, just help us here. Maybe Red Rum can help us with a reason for it, right? He usually chimes in. Where's Truck? Truck, what's wrong with Adam that he's getting bit by the injury bug like this? I think we all need to know. Because it ain't happening to me.
Well, you're fortunate right now. I can tell you that.
Living somebody's dream. I don't know. You know what it is, man? I did. Not only did I pare down the number of leagues that I played this year, but the primary leagues that I'm dealing with, it's all weekly moves. And that just that changes everything. To not have to sit there and go in every single day and pop this guy out of the lineup, pop that guy back in the, because that's, I'm not going to say that I'm too busy for it, but if you do too many leagues like that, it really does become like a pain in the ass every single day, especially out here on the West Coast. Like I had to get up this morning and get my fucking betting article out because 9:30 was the first game out here. So yeah, I get up early and usually, and yeah, I don't really sleep much, but man, to have to sit there and set a dozen, even half a dozen lineups on the daily, that's that gets to be too much for me.
Yeah, but on the flip side, like I said, the two examples with a guy like Zach Eflin and Woodruff going on the IL on a Tuesday, now you're taking a 0 on that spot for the week.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. Better that it's a pitcher than a fucking hitter. I'll tell you that.
Well, I mean, it could happen with a hitter too. I mean,
of course it could.
We got the Correa news early on Monday. So when I saw that he was out with a back, I said, I'm taking him out. And I only got him in one league, and it was as a middle infielder. Like he fell in the draft. I was like, all right, fine, I'll take him. Because I'm not a huge Correa fan for fantasy. He just never hit 30 home runs. He just doesn't do much, but he really fell. And I'm like, all right, I already have my shortstop. I'll take him as a middle infielder. So took him out, and I can put him back in Friday if I want, if he is back.
I think the Tim Anderson news broke after lineup lock for the.
Well, yeah, because it happened during the Monday. Wasn't it a Monday game? It happened during the.
Did it happen during the Monday game?
I think so. Or was
it Sunday? Maybe it happened Sunday night.
Maybe it was Sunday.
I don't know, man. So, all right. So it's a grind for you right now. That's the thing. And, just to bring it back towards, the fab budget and all that other stuff. Man, it is, it's tight, as far as how much you end up spending, because you got a lot of guys who are overspending on shit and paying, far too much money. We had that conversation about the closers and chasing saves and stuff like that. But even so with players who are just coming up, Francisco Alvarez, for example, I do have a shitty waiver wire story about that, but it's figuring out how much you budget for a guy like that. I can only imagine that in leagues where he was available, but you were dealing with all of these injuries, you don't get to put a strong bid out for Alvarez, or do you sacrifice?
No, I didn't get him anywhere. I don't think he was available in many of my leagues. The other problem with him is in a lot of leagues right now, he's only eligible in the utility spot, and the Mets have not made a commitment to play him every day. So if you need 10 games to gain eligibility to catcher, it could take a while. He's caught 2 games so far, and he sat 3 days. So you might have to wait 2 weeks potentially before he gets that catcher eligibility. So that's difficult. So there's a lot of things that go with it when you're looking for these bids. And you'll probably see, I saw a big bid on Grayson Rodriguez where he was available, and he was not good in his start against the A's. So you have to wonder, when Bradish comes back, do they send him down? We know Taj Bradley's coming up here on Wednesday, and we'll see how he performs. But if Eflin doesn't miss much time, he might not be up for long. And then I think you're trying to fill in the gaps right now. Like a guy like Franchi Cordero, man, dude homered again today. He's got 4 home runs. I mean, you pick guys like that up and see if it lasts.
Yeah, I think, that's obviously the hope. I was just kind of, in that realm of, well, you've got 3 guys who are injured and you have to kind of figure out how you're going to replace. Maybe you need to replace 2 of them. You don't have enough on your bench. You have a short bench, stuff like that. And then you don't get to make that move to get a Francisco Alvarez. Yeah, the quick story that I have. So NFBC platform, there's no, like in a lot of leagues all over the place and tons of leagues that I'm in, your fab happens, the waiver claims happen. And then the next morning, you have the opportunity, especially in like a weekly league, you have an opportunity to pick up a guy in the morning, so that, in case you missed on all your fab bids, that you could still replace a hurt guy in your lineup or something like that. But the NFBC platform doesn't allow that. It's strictly fab bidding and that's it. And so I ended up, I went after Alvarez in the FSGA league on RT Sports, and I went after him in the BARF league, Bay Area Roto Fantasy League. And that's on the NFBC platform. So in both of them, I was just like, I was kind of, it was like, oh shit, the deadline's coming up. I got to make sure I do this. So I was like, I picked up Alvarez, put the bid in, drop Reese McGuire, and just leave it at that. And so I did that on the FSGA one, and I got the player. I won the bid, and I got the player. And then the next morning I was like, oh, okay, now I got to put somebody into a catcher spot. I knew he was utility only, like in the back of my mind, but obviously while I was, rushing through the fab deal to make the fab deadline, I bricked it in the BARF league. So I put the bid in. It was a winning bid, but it was invalid because I dropped Reese McGuire and I wouldn't have been able to start a catcher that week. So I fucked myself on that move there, which, super pissed me off.
Oh, so I guess that league has a rule then that you have to have a legal lineup then, and the waivers recognizes that and doesn't process it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Exactly what it was.
Yeah, because I think you would have been like, okay, I'll take a 0 catcher for the week just to have Alvarez, right?
Oh, fuck yeah. I totally would have done that. Yeah. Absolutely. That's why I was like, I immediately I hit up Justin Mason. I'm like, I get up in the morning and it's like 5:30 a.m. and Mason's out here on the West Coast also. But, I like see this, it's the morning. I'm doing my morning thing and I'm scrolling through on my phone. I'm looking to see what happened after waivers processed. And of course I was like, emailing him being like, what the fuck? I had a winning bid on this shit. How come? Why is it saying it's an invalid lineup? Blah, blah, blah. And then I did like a quick follow-up email after that being like, I don't even remember what my comment was, but I was like, yeah, I saw this and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden by my third email, and I'm sure Justin will say the progression of reading these emails when he eventually woke up was, the rants of an angry man sitting on the toilet at 5:30 in the morning, who finally came to realize that the mistake was his part, and everything's fine. It's the fucking worst, dude, because I want him. And yeah, I get it. I think that, they're slowly integrating him in, and that's, kind of what we expect. But man, just to have that as like my second catcher, I would have been styling.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually he's very aggressive at the plate right now. I think he's pressing too much, but again, it's not like Tomas Nido's any good. I know the pitching staff likes to throw to him, but the Mets need offense badly. I mean, this team just cannot hit. They're one of the worst teams with runners in scoring position so far this year. So they need any offense they can get, and they have all these young kids raking down in the minors. Brett Beatty, Vientos. I mean, at some point, you're going to have to bring them up, man, because you got to win. I mean, they got fortunate. They did win today. They took 2 out of 3 from the Padres. Great. But, I mean, this offense is just really lacking right now. When I was at the game on Sunday, I was so frustrated. The Mets had an opportunity to get back in it. Bases loaded. The pitcher just threw 5 straight balls. He walked the batter, threw ball 1 to Escobar. And I'm sitting there, don't swing, take a pitch. He swings at a pitch, grounds the third inning over. It's like, come on, man. Like, the pitcher's on the ropes. Like, if you're going to swing at a pitch after he threw 5 consecutive balls, you better smoke it for a hit. Or not even for a hit. You better lace the shit out of that ball. Like, if you crush it right at the shortstop or, deep to left field, okay, I can live with it. You're going to hit a weak ground on the third? Nah, you can't be swinging when the pitcher's throwing 5 straight balls and now the bases are loaded. That pressure is all on the pitcher, man. It's fundamental baseball, man. It goes to Little League, even in softball, bro. Even in softball. Like, if a guy throws 4 straight balls, you got to keep taking a pitch. Yeah. It's in his head now, man. So shit like that, man. It's like guys are trying to do too much because they realize that they're not producing and not putting up runs.
The rants of a Met fan right there. No fundamentals. You got to get back on track. It's listen to that, man. Your fantasy teams, everybody's hurt. You're bleeding fab every single week, and you're not, you have no power on your teams, and now your real life team is abandoning you too.
I mean, I wouldn't say abandoned. I mean, they're 7-6, but and that's the thing is like, every team has injuries right now, man. It's insane. Like, the Braves are dealing with a lot of injuries as well. The Phillies. I mean, it's pretty much every team. I mean, outside of the Rays, who just can't lose right now, everybody's kind of bunched up. No one's really dominating. The A's are just horrific. I mean, that is just an embarrassing team that they're running out there, man. I think if you bet against them every day over the course of the season with the run line, you're going to be profitable. Like, because this team is just absolute trash. And the Rays, they've covered the run line in their first 11 wins, man.
Okay, but can we put the Rays a little bit into perspective? Because
I know who they. You know what? I know they've played no one. You're going to tell me the Tigers, the Nationals, the A's. You know what, though? They're beating the shit out of these teams. In fact, their first 9 wins, they won every game by at least 4 runs.
Yeah.
And then the Red Sox, okay, they're not as bad as those teams. I know they're not great either. They're beating them, though. And look, the Rays are good every year. They just are. They're run extremely well. They take these pitchers from other organizations and turn them around. That's why I was interested in Zach Eflin late. I've always liked him. I'm like, he's going to the Rays. I'm in. We saw Glass now come there and how good he's been. I know he can't stay healthy. Rasmussen came over. Springs has been great. They know what they're doing. So look, they're going to be in it.
Give me one pitcher, not named Eduardo Rodriguez, who is better than Eduardo Rodriguez that they beat. Maybe you could say Whitlock last night.
Yeah, that was his first start.
But who have they? I understand
that,
but they seen?
We can look at some other teams and look at who they faced, and they're 500. Like, no one else is doing what they're doing. Again, it's a hot streak. They're not the favorite to win the World Series. They still lack some power. I mean, Wander Franco's off to a great start, and I was not in on him. I wanted to see him do it. We know the prospect pedigree, but, he had the injury scare in the spring, and he's off to a great start. I like Arozarena. Josh Lowe is a guy I picked up over the weekend. He's going to get some more opportunity. with Jose Siri out. He might sit against some left-handers like he is on Wednesday against Sale, but I like him as a guy in a 15-team league you could pick up. But no, his Rays team is good. We knew going into the year they're going to be good.
I'm not saying that they aren't good. I just, when you're looking at 11 wins in a row, you do have to take into consideration who they are, who they are facing. As far as the pitching goes, because you're also still talking about you're not only are you talking about the three worst teams in the league, Detroit, Washington, and Oakland, but their pitching is so subpar. And just to have them all like kind of lumped together for that, obviously, winning feeds off the winning energy feeds off of everything. So I got to tell you, I'd have many more doubts about the Rays if they weren't blowing fucking teams out. Like that's, to me is, these are the teams that they need to, just pound and just, get those wins. Cause that's, kind of where it comes down to. It really does. But I'm with you on the Wander Franco stuff. I have no shares of him. And yeah, I was like, oh yeah, Wander Franco, he's a better reality player than he is a fantasy player. And, I don't think he's ready for this year. I think we'll see some steady progression, but I don't think this is his breakout campaign. Like, what the fuck was I thinking there?
Well, it's still early, but we really haven't seen the power or speed, but we know that he was a top prospect, and so far he's putting it together. And we'll see. Look, they still have, this is a 4-game series with Boston. Maybe they lose one of these games. Then they got 3 in Toronto, 3 in Cincinnati, home for the White Sox, Astros, White Sox again, Pirates, and then they get the Yankees. They got a stretch. They got a stretch of like
what is that schedule?
And they got a stretch of there's some good teams in there. Toronto's in there.
Toronto's in there, sure.
Houston's in there, although Houston's not what they were. I know they're off to a slow start. They got the White Sox for 7. The Pirates, who suck, but they got 7 against the Yankees, 3 against the Orioles, 3 against the Mets. So they got some tougher teams coming up, but this is what you want, man. Like, because not a lot of baseball teams do this. You get this stretch, and sometimes you go 7-3, maybe 6-4. They're just wiping everyone away, and that's what you want to see, man, because it is a schedule that you should be taking advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's talk about, obviously, so here you go. It's the ultimate of hot starts for, for the Tampa Bay Rays. And, listen, I kind of, I was talking to Glenn Colton last night and just talking about the Rays and what they're at. And I was like, like if I had to pick like where their first loss would be, it's either going to happen. To me, I was like April 15th, April 16th, maybe. Kikuchi, is the Saturday game, and Manoah, who off to a terrible start for none of his fault. And, so I think that's kind of where it is. Manoah, this dude, like, I don't, poor son of a bitch, like warms up, like opening day, he's like ready to go, right? He's like dealing with the Cardinals, and he, warming up, and then the ceremony and everything, this and that, and it takes forever. And then he like sits idle for too long. And then that happened again in Toronto the other day for their home opener. So it was like the Cardinals opener and having, warmed up and then delays for that. But then there was like an even bigger delay in that Toronto game that it wasn't like why wouldn't you have all those festivities before the first pitch is supposed to go? Like, why did you have to delay a game for like a good, like 20 to 30 minutes, clearing off this fucking, celebration or whatever, while Manoah, who had already warmed up and now was like sitting idle for like another half hour? I was pissed.
Yeah. This was like Garrett Cole, right?
What's that?
It's like Garrett Cole when he was pissed that like an opening day, I think it was last year, and there was a delay and he was all upset. Yeah. So it's kind of something similar.
Well, so that's why, like I look at the slow start from Manoah. 2 out of his 3 starts were like meh, meh. One great start, which it was against Kansas City. Um, so I mean, I was kind of looking at that. So that's where I kind of thought that maybe would end up with that. Hot starts, cold starts. I'm sure you've got a couple that you're eyeballing. That we'll start with, like, guys who are off to a really hot start right now. Guys that you're looking at. Maybe you don't believe in them, or maybe this is like, hey, this is a guy who you actually should pay attention to.
I'm buying into Pablo Lopez. Velocity was up in the spring. The only concern I had about him was the shoulder. So as draft season went on, I was trying to get him on more teams. So, I mean, and I love what I saw yesterday. It was like a 31 pitch first inning. I was like, oh man, this dude is not going to last long. And he did. He settled down. I think one of the runs was unearned, and he wound up going, I think, 7 innings, man. It should have gotten the win, but the bullpen blew it. So I love what I see from him. He actually went 7 2/3. Guy threw 31 pitches in the first inning and was able to get 7 2/3 on 98 pitches, struck out 10 and walked 1. It's got a 1.35 ERA. So I'm buying into what he's doing right now. I think it's good to see Matt Chapman off to a good start. Like, we know the average won't stick, but he hits the ball hard, had power. So I think you like what you see from him. Luis Arias, I mean, what the fuck? This guy can't. Yo, this dude doesn't make an out, man. I saw him a lot against the Mets this weekend. He was, and the Mets have played them 7 games. Can't get this motherfucker out.
How is it that the first cycle in Marlins history? Like, how bad have the Marlins been that nobody's ever hit for the cycle?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of bizarre. I was like, really?
What was their
like,
first year? Right? Was it 1993?
Something 96? Like that. Yeah, early 90s.
Okay. Like, I find that bonkers that's the first that's the first one. I mean, I'm not gonna like challenge it, but I just thought that was kind of weird. Arias is really good. Who's the player you just said before Arias?
Chapman.
Yes. I dig that. I agree with you. I don't think the batting average sticks. Where are you at with Jordan Walker? Obviously off to a fantastic start to the season. I mean, I'm invested in him. I definitely believe in the player. Oh, I haven't even looked. He's playing right now. Does he have a hit? Did he extend it to 12 games?
I know that O'Neill and Arenado homered so far for them.
Nope. He's 0 for 2 right now, trying to make it 12 games. Are you buying Jordan Walker?
Yeah, I don't have him anywhere, but yes, it's great to see him get off to this start. And even kind of hitting at the bottom. I mean, he doesn't walk much, but the strikeout rate is pretty good, 19.6%. So he's been pretty good in that sense. So yeah, I think he'll be solid, and he'll definitely be in contention for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, well, you and I took him in the sportsbook league, so you're damn right. You're damn right. We'll track and see if that's the case. What about here you go. I mean, let's talk about, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people just use their bench as a revolving door with the waiver wire, and that drives me absolutely insane. What about some of the cold starts that, you're not worried about? They'll turn it around, sort of a thing, but you hear people are questioning and whether or not they're going to give up on them.
No one comes to mind. Do you have a few names?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, Gunnar Henderson. Like, what are we doing with?
I'd be a little worried with him. He's a young player. I didn't draft him anywhere, but I would be a little worried with him. That maybe they bench him here and there. We get excited for these young players, but not all of them come out running. Jordan Walker is, but I mean, Henderson has struck out 40% of the time so far. Now he is walking 22.5% walk rate, but 40% strikeout rate. I mean, obviously he's better than this, but at some point, I don't think he gets set down, but it's a possibility. I mean, Anthony Volpe is another guy you got to start to worry about too. They benched him, not benched him. They gave him a day off on Tuesday. He was back in the lineup on Wednesday and let off, and did have a double. And scored 3 runs. No, he didn't score 3 runs. He scored 3 on the season, but it's not all these guys come up and perform well. Volpe struck out 30% of the time.
Like, how concerned are you that they're going to send Henderson down?
Not yet. I don't think so, but if it gets to if he keeps up this strikeout rate, then they might say, you know what, let's just give this kid a couple weeks down to get his head straight. And we've seen it. So guys get sent down, come back up, and then perform well. I mean, Alex Bregman to start his career was like, what, 1 for 33, something like that? So Trout came up.
Was that his career, or was that the way he started this year too?
No, I don't have any Bregman this year. He did.
I do. He did
homer.
He was like 1 for 16 at one point.
Well, Victor Robles hitting 389.
Oh, I know. What the fuck is that? See, there you go. Like, is that a guy that you could actually believe in? Because here's the thing: Robles actually had, there was some buzz on him when he first came up, and it just seemed like he wasn't interested. Now, I've asked Jim Bowden about him, and he's just like, he's like, Robles's heart isn't in the game. It's about getting attention. If he's not getting attention, then he loses it. So he doesn't like the player, like the character makeup of the player. And he throws that out there. I mean, I don't know Robles personally, but I mean, that's kind of a detrimental thing. You think, he could be the guy who, like, all of a sudden he's off to a hot start and he starts getting all the attention and maybe he kind of thrives off of that, or you just think that he's trash?
I mean, the guy was highly touted, but man, we have seen nothing. Even with this hot start, I mean, he is making a lot of contact. That's good, but there's no power. He's on a shitty Nationals team. I guess he's hitting 6 today, it looks like. No, wait a second. Is he still at the bottom of the order? That's the other thing. They don't even move him up. I mean, he's off to a good start. You're like, oh, it's the Nationals. Move him up. Get him up in the order. And that's not – yeah, he's hitting 9th today. 9th. So
I mean, this team is blah. I mean, come on.
It's pretty bad. I don't think they're as bad as the A's.
I mean, those are the 2 teams I think are going to compete for most losses. 100%.
I think the A's are worse. The Nationals actually have been playing competitive, staying in games. They do have a few decent bats. Mackenzie Gore's looked good so far. Josiah Gray has used his fastball way less, which is a good thing for him. He actually didn't have his best stuff and was able to go 5 2/3 and kind of limit the Angels on Tuesday. So the A's are just brutal. They lost Seth Brown. I mean, their bullpen is a disaster. They bring in Trevor May. He's walking the ballpark. I mean, that team is just absolutely garbage. They're so bad that I actually started Carlos Carrasco this week in my weekly lineup because it's the A's. If he gets bombed by the A's, then he's fucking done.
Oh, dude, I hope he gets bombed by the A's.
Fuck you, man. Come on. I didn't have a lot of options. It was like Matt Boyd and Edward Cabrera. I'm like, I can't start Edward Cabrera right now. The dude walks everyone. Now watch. I bet his walk line, because most pitchers' walk lines are 1.5. His was 2.5. And I was like, shit. Of course, he's in the 3rd inning, 2 1/3 innings. He hasn't walked anyone yet.
Hasn't walked anybody yet?
Oh, against the Phillies. So against the Mets, he just could not find the strike zone. And he's one of those pitchers where you like, he's got excellent stuff, but he just cannot find the plate. He's all over the place. So, but yeah, the A's are just fucking horrendous. Again, Nationals are not good, but I think the A's are worse.
I mean, it'll be a fun thing to track. Absolutely. Which team loses more? I tell you what, and I almost kind of feel like, well, if we still had the imbalanced schedule, I would say that the Nationals would end up with more losses. I just, I mean, the rest of that division just destroys.
I mean, the A's have 2 wins. Were they both against the Angels? Oh, no, one. Yeah, Angels opening day, they won 2-1, and they beat the Guardians 4-3. Here's their other games. 13-1 loss, 6-0 loss, 12-11 loss, 6-4, 9-5, 11-0, 11-0, 5-1, 12-8. I mean, this team is absolute trash. This is one of the worst teams I've seen in a long time. I mean, look at this fucking roster, man.
So what you're saying is you have no A's on your fantasy teams.
I think I do. Let's see. I do have Trevor May. I cut him in one. I'm about to cut him in the other. Fuck him.
I had Danny Jimenez.
Oh, didn't he go on the IL today? Yeah, he went on the IL. They're like, oh wait, he gave up runs. Let's put him on the IL. I mean, you can't start any of their pitchers. I do have Estuary Ruiz in tout. I have Connor Capel in a draft Champions League. Again, that's 50 rounds. I don't think I've started him yet. And I have Jesus Aguilar in a draft Champions because, like, right when he was signed was the middle of the draft. It was in the 30s. I'm like, all right, he's probably going to play every day for the A's. But yeah, I mean, this team is just looking at this roster. I just want to vomit.
All right, let me give you some more slow starters and see if panic is setting in. You know what? I got an email today actually about MJ Melendez. No. Royals aren't a good team. Melendez is striking out almost like 40% of the time. And it just he just doesn't look good. Did we see the best of him, or you're willing to cut him some rope here?
Yeah, no, I think you be patient with him. I did see the Royals, as bad as they are, they're making a lot of hard contact. The strikeout rate's a little alarming there with Melendez. It was 24.5% last year. So again, we're looking at 10 games here. So it can happen. He's still walking 14% of the time. I think he'll be okay. I mean, again, he's a catcher that's not catching every day. So no, I'm not worried about him.
Okay. All right. Are you concerned over the sophomore slump from Julio Rodriguez? He's only batting .228 right now.
No.
And are you worried? Are you worried that he's going to disappoint everybody who took him in the first round?
They better not. I took him in a couple leagues. I think he'll be fine. He started very slowly last year too. Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. He's got a couple home runs. He's stolen 4 bases. He scored some runs. So yeah, not power yet, but we know again, it's 12 games. If he over the next week and a half, he hits 5 home runs, we're going to be like, oh, okay, he's on pace to do what we expected. So it can quickly change. I mean, you could have a night like Ryan Mountcastle. We had 9 RBIs, and you're right back in the swing of things.
Well, then what's the advice that you give to people who can't sit on their hands? I mean, you've seen it in the Fantasy Alarm Discord. Guys are like, some guy hits a home run, random dude hits a home run, and then they're all of a sudden they start listing, these are who I think the 3 worst players are on my team are. Should I pick up this guy instead of one of these guys? And there's it's a constant battle to try and get people to be more patient, to give a longer leash to, some of these players. Like, what advice do you give them? Because, I could say it till I'm blue in the face, say, be patient, but people just, they refuse.
Well, I think there's a balance. There's a level of being patient with certain players, but I do think you have to churn the back end of your roster. Like last year, if you were too patient, then you missed out on Taylor Ward. And that was a guy that helped you all year. Now, I know we can look at the waiver wire and say, well, this guy didn't work out. This guy didn't work out. If you get, 2 guys, especially this time of year, that can work out. Like, again, Franchi Cordero in a 15-team league, I'm going to take a shot. Like, I picked up Akil Baddoo this weekend. I don't know if it's going to work out. He was great in the minors. We saw 2 years ago, he had power and speed. He's led off in the first 3 games that he played for Detroit. So, there's certain times where you have some dead weight on your roster or you have IL spots. You do need to take chances on some of these players off to good starts. I think Chris Bubich was a big name that people were talking about. It's only been 2 starts. His velocity is up. He looks good. We're going to find out. His next couple starts are the Braves and the Angels. So but sometimes you need to take shots on these guys. It doesn't mean you cut every player that's struggling, but there's a lot of times where maybe you drafted someone late that's not panning out, not getting the playing time. And, you have to take shots on some of these players that are getting the playing time, producing. And it's if you see a change. You're not just going, oh, well, 12 innings, 14 strikeouts. Okay, what changed? Is he doing anything differently? And if there is, maybe it's a sign of things to come where he can perform to a certain level. But like, you brought up guys like, who were taken in the first 10 rounds. A lot of those guys I'm going to be patient with. That I can't, we did all this work off season, had them ranked in a certain spot, unless there's an injury or something doesn't look right. Again, it's still 10 to 12 games.
Huh? All right. Well, looking further down, player who I actually really dig. I don't expect him to hit 33 home runs again, but Anthony Santander from Baltimore, or looking at Josh Bell. Now that he's in Cleveland, he's batting 109, and was Cleveland the right fit for Josh Bell? And is he capable of turning things around, or do we see a pattern in his work? These are some late names that, both of these guys, I've had people ask me multiple times whether or not they should drop them.
I'm not a huge Josh Bell guy, so it depends what you're dropping him for. But what were the expectations for Josh Bell? He's never going to hit the 37 home runs that he hit in 2019 when everyone was hitting home runs. Last year, only 17 home runs. I think he's a 20 homer, 80 RBI guy. Nothing special about that.
Yeah. Anybody that you've dug into that you that you took a shot on, because you do the waiver wire article over at fantasyalarm.com. You guys can go check that out. Adam does twice a week. We get full updates there. You get one on Saturday so that you can kind of make your waiver claims there, and then the other one comes out on Tuesday? Guys to watch for the week, or is it Wednesday?
Yeah, Tuesday and Saturday.
So Tuesday and Saturday. Anybody that you've kind of uncovered?
Well, I don't know. I didn't see what his roster ship is right now, but Chas McCormick. He's hitting leadoff now for the Astros, and he's running. He stole his fourth base, so I think that's a guy that could really help out. Matt Strom's interesting for the Phillies. He's been good so far, starting to stretch him out a little bit. As I mentioned, Josh Lowe, I like. I picked him up in labor. I had a couple of injuries there, and I got him. I think Alec Burleson's a short term because it looks like Lars Nootbaar could be back. Like I said, and Bryce Elder, I picked him up in a couple leagues for the Braves. It's so funny. Everyone was like Jarrett Schuster was going up draft boards in the high stakes leagues before the year. Now the dude's in the minors.
Right. Well, Dylan Dodd's back in the minors too.
Yeah.
It was one of those two guys, right? That was supposed to be the fifth starter.
Yeah. And now it's Elder who's pitched well. And I think, he's got a little rope. I know Max Fried will be back soon, but Kyle Wright didn't look good in his first start. So I think Elder could be there and help out for a little bit. Closer wise, there's not much there. I guess Andrew Chafin, if he's still available, he got the save opportunity this past week. I kind of thought, and I should have been more, when they signed him, I'm like, I think he's going to close. And a lot of people are like, no, he's not. He's a lefty. I'm like, but they have Joe Mantiply, and I know he's been hurt. I really do think they wanted McGuff to get it, but he has struggled so far.
Now they just activated him off of paternity leave.
Yeah, he missed.
So there's a kid in play there at home, which I did a whole article on that. I remember it was back. Remember, I think I told you about it. C.J. Wilson, and talking about the fact that all of the home numbers in the Rangers' new park were fantastic, except for C.J. Wilson's. And his road stats were so good. And why was he like the outlier there? And talking about that these guys aren't robots, that these are actual human beings. And talked about, CJ Wilson having, the kid and dealing with that. I cited other examples, Pablo Sandoval going into a slump and overeating because he was, freaking out because his mom's house burned down and all their family shit that was going on. So, I think, I don't remember the point that I was just about to make there, but I believe, that having a kid for McGuff could be a problem. I mean, from a fantasy standpoint.
Yeah, and a real life standpoint. But that's. I
mean, listen, I don't know the guy. I don't know if his genetics need to spread or not. But come on, he's supposed to get some fucking saves for my fantasy team.
Yeah, I'm still holding on to him just to see if a little bit longer. But Chafin has been pretty good so far. But yeah, I mean, it's been tough. I mean, Reynaldo Lopez is a guy that I think might be my highest roster player, and I was getting a little worried. And then the other day, I watched him. He had a 4-out save, struck out 3, and looked great. So and that's another team. I think they want him to be the guy. So I think he has some rope right now. Liam Hendricks, who knows? He could be back mid-May, end of May. They didn't put him on the 60-day IL. We still have to see how he bounces back, but.
Yeah, I got some trust issues with Reynaldo Lopez.
No, I think he's a different pitcher out of the bullpen, so I'm good with him. Again, I know he had a couple rough outings, but his stuff was really sharp the other day. That he's throwing 100, 101. His slider was really good. So I think he's the guy for now. It's not Kendall Graveman.
Well, yeah, I'm not in on Kendall Graveman either. Again, that I think I just need to be out on White Sox. I think that's the problem.
Oh, dude, I am so sick of this team.
I might be jinxing them because I was so into them, and now it's like Giolito's falling apart. Eloy can't stay healthy.
They said he could be back this weekend. I mean, don't rush this fucking guy, okay?
From your lips to God's ears.
Not for real. If he gets hurt again, I'm not drafting him next year. Make sure I don't. Make sure, I print out my list. I'm going to cross off his name wherever it is before the draft starts.
I will be right there for you, man. I will. And then when we do the sports book league, then we just take all sorts of Eloy props.
Yeah,
unders everywhere.
But it's only 11 home runs. I don't care. Under.
It doesn't matter. Dude'll hit 9 in the first half, and then he'll miss the whole second half with a fucking injury. Oh shit! Well, Adam, I'm so sorry that your fantasy season has not gotten off to the to the white hot start.
No, the thing is though, a lot of the teams are actually decent. No one is buried. I think in the main event, I've been fluctuating between 1st and 5th so far, so that's nice. Tout War is kind of in the top 5, Labor in the top 5, FSGA, I've been first most of the way. So it's not like the teams have been awful, like GST top 3. So I guess I'm pretty fortunate considering that I have been hit with a lot of injuries. And I know others have too, that it hasn't really been brutal. It's not like, right now I'm first in the main event. Just looking, 114 points, 47th overall. So yeah, I mean, but I did really like that. I did the draft with Brian Ambo, so we both like the team coming out. We're like, that's not good, when you both you like the team like that, you're like, oh shit, something's gonna go wrong. So far so good. Although David Robertson's on that team, and then they brought him into the 7th today. I mean, again, I understand why Buck Showalter did it. It was a big spot. I think it was still 3-2 at the time, and he brought him in to face Soto, where runners on base, and he got the out. Then he pitched the 8th. And then Ottavino got the save. So that sucks from a fantasy perspective, but I guess they're going to do that sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I think most managers are building their bullpen in that fashion anyway. We're seeing it so much. I mean, there's so very few lockdown closers in there. And there's a ton of guys who, you'll see guys getting the majority of saves, but then you always have to kind of factor in that, somebody's going to trickle in somewhere and get some work. I'm thinking about, Pete Fairbanks is getting all the save opportunities right now for the Rays. And, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, once that streak kind of comes to an end and then everything's all, matchup based for Kevin Cash, then all of a sudden, then I think you'll see Jason Adam get a save or two there. They'll utilize Fairbanks in a different situation, get him in a more high leverage situation. If 3, 4, and 5 of the lineup are up and, in the 8th inning and the Rays are clinging to a 2-run lead, you're going to want to throw him in there maybe instead of Adam.
So, I know it sucks for fantasy, but that's the way you should do it. I mean, if you're in the 8th in a 1-run game and you got 3, 4, 5 coming up, don't you want your closer facing them? And then you bring someone. I mean, it makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It does. It sucks for fantasy, but it's the smart move in reality. That's why, like managers sit there when they like do interviews and somebody brings up the fantasy aspect and they ask you, who's getting the saves, who's your 9th inning guy, they hate it. They hate the question because they're like, well, who's up? who's at the plate right now? What inning? What's the score? What do I have left? Do I have another lefty in the pen? So it's like all of a sudden it's mixing and matching there. That's why, again, I know we had this discussion. I think saves and holds is just better than dealing with just saves. I know you say it devalues the top closers, but dude, I think top closers are fucking devaluing themselves right now.
Yeah, Class A's been a little shaky so far. Hader's been okay. Romano blew a save the other day, but he's generally been good. But yeah, the problem too with saves now is you have teams you don't even want to you don't want a closer from the A's. Like we don't even know who it is, and they suck. And I do agree. Hey, bad team. No, this is a fucking atrocious team. There's no one you want to close because you might go 2 weeks without getting a save from an A's closer. They only have one save, I think, right? Opening day, 2-1 game. I think that's the only save they have. Yeah, the other game they won was they won a game 4-3. Who got the save there? Because I definitely know it wasn't a complete game. They won it in the bottom of the 9th. So Trevor May pitched the 9th, got the win. But he's been, it's not even worth rostering anyone. The Nationals, I mean, Finnegan got a save the other day. He hasn't been good. Detroit has no saver opportunities. I have Lang. I have been having him on the bench, and I might have to cut him at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, these teams are really bad.
Yeah.
Like, closers on bad teams, you can still get away with it. I mean, shit, man. I had Joaquin Soria as my closer for years and years, in a home keeper league back when he was with Kansas City and closing out games there. David Bednar, right? I mean, I don't think the Pirates are a particularly good team, but they'll play their competitive games and he will get that save work. But yeah, guys like Finnegan, Jimenez, May, Lang, yeah, that's a tough guy to carry. Only because, especially if you don't do holds, and these guys, they're going to end up in they're just going to pitch in a ton of non-save situations, and we all know what closers look like in non-save situations. It ain't pretty.
No, it's definitely not. As we saw with Evan Phillips on Tuesday night.
Yes,
gave up 3 runs.
Yes, we did. Although I don't have any Evan Phillips, so I was okay with it.
I do. So I drafted him in labor. I cut him for Will Smith, and then I spent $12 to get him back this past week.
The repurchase. You got to feel good about that.
Yeah, fuck it. I mean, I was like, you know what? I think the runner-up was 8, so I got him for 12. I was like, all right, fine, I'll take it. I mean, I had a little extra fab because I lost Rhys Hoskins. So, yeah, I think I made 6 pickups in labor this past week.
Jesus. Well, all right, folks. That's what we got going on here today. A lot of MLB talk. Obviously, we'll continue that. I'm sure NBA playoffs are exciting for you, Adam. I mean, play-in games and all, but we should have everything set and squared away by this weekend, right?
Yeah, you'll have the final playoff teams Friday night. You have the final playing games on Friday. The Heat will host the first one. Timberwolves will host the second one, and they'll play the losers of the Wednesday night games. And then you have Saturday. is when the playoffs start. Saturday, you got Nets, Sixers, Hawks, Celtics, Knicks, Cavaliers, and Warriors, Kings.
Do you prefer this play-in format?
I don't mind it. I mean, you get some playoff level basketball, though I got to say the games on Tuesday were pretty bad, but I don't mind it. Here's the thing. The 7 and 8 seeds never win anyway. So
right.
They just don't in the NBA. I mean, it rarely happens. This isn't like baseball, hockey, or football where you get some of these, baseball, we've seen wild card teams get to the World Series just last year. I mean, the Phillies were the last wild card and got to the World Series. You don't see that in basketball. It's just not going to happen. I mean, the Lakers are a dangerous 7 seed, but they still have their work cut out for them. So you just don't see many of these bottom seeds. So I don't mind. It's, it's only 3 days anyway of extra games. So you get more games to bet on, more player props. So I don't mind it.
All right. Well, we'll check in. You got your betting article on Friday still?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe we got to get you doing some betting articles on Fantasy Alarm then. People got to know how to bet the NBA, dude. All right. Good to know. Good to know. But that's going to do it for us here today on Cash It. As always, we thank you guys for listening, liking, subscribing, all that fun stuff. You can follow Adam on Twitter at Adam Ronis. You can follow me at RotoBuzzGuy. Best of luck to all you guys with all your waiver work this weekend. And Adam and I will be back same time, same place next week. Thank you all again. We'll catch you next time.